We want to help you be the very best missionary so that you can give your very best to the people you're serving. What makes this podcast unique is it's done by missionaries for missionaries. How can we take timeless principles and apply them to our lives as missionaries? That's really our heart behind this. Welcome to this episode of the Modern Day Missionaries podcast. I am so thrilled. We have with us today Allie Black and Anita Bosworth. They are fundraising coaches and have some excellent things they're going to be sharing with you all today. I know finances and fundraising is a hot topic always among missionaries. We want to be fully funded so we can do what God calls us to do. And the two of you have so much expertise in this. I know Anita is the director of coaching for World Gospel Mission, a missionary sending agency, and her team trains and coaches missionaries while they're raising their support and they prepare for the mission field. They help get them ready beforehand and while they're there as well. And also have Allie with us. Allie has been a financial coach for many years as well, doing support raising, and then at the same time has run an organization called Desert Apologetics, which is an apologetics ministry that seeks to launch the next generation of Christian apologetics and apologists and thought leaders. And the two of them, we had a conversation about a month ago just talking about what this was going to look like. And I got excited about what it was that they're going to be sharing. We're going to be talking about growing and energizing your support team in a way that will grow their loyalty, their commitment, and excitement about supporting you. And when you both started mentioning what you were going to be sharing today, I knew that I was going to have my own notepad ready here next to me taking notes because you mentioned some things that I haven't ever even heard before. So I hope everybody's ready to jump into today. But first, I'd love to just take a minute and ask the two of you a couple fun questions just to get everybody going so people can get to know you a little bit. How you two feeling?
Fantastic.
Ready?
Yeah. Go for it.
I love it. Okay, perfect. All right. So I'm gonna throw out a few questions and you both can answer. So you can decide whoever wants to jump in and answer first. Weather extremes. Really hot or really cold?
Hot, 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 hot.
Hot. Well, it makes sense with where you both live. You want to share where you both live?
Oh, well, I'm in Palm Springs, California. And although it's still hot, but we're going into our nice season. So the mornings have finally cooled down, but we're where the Coachella Festival is, right? So they're Joshua Tree. So we're pretty warm a good chunk of the time. So we're coming out of that. So I couldn't be more excited about that.
I'm in Georgia, and it gets very hot in the summertime and humid. But we have about, I say we have 2.5 seasons here. So we still get a little bit of a change of seasons, but it's very hot.
So you both are coming out of the really hot and probably a little excited for it to cool down somewhat. Not like it does up here in Minnesota, but yes, you've been doing really hot for a while.
Well, Stephanie, we do have guest rooms, right, Anita? So just keep that in mind in February.
Thank you. That's good to know. Okay, for both of you, what is your favorite kind of music?
Oh, well, classic rock and roll, like Creedence Clearwater, just that whole genre from 68 to 71. That's my pocket.
That's your jam. How about you, Anita?
Yeah. And I'm a contemporary Christian music that I listen to about 95% of the time. And that's what I love.
It's kind of like that K-Love type vibe.
Yeah.
Classic CCM. I love it. Okay, for both of you, what was your favorite subject in school?
Ooh. I need to take it from there. I ditched 2 months in a row in my high school career. That should give you kind of an idea of where I'm at. Go ahead.
I loved history and literature.
So, Allie, you're sticking with recess.
Not math.
I'm recess. That's right. Recess. Absolutely.
Okay. So here's kind of a fun one. Allie, what is one thing you admire about Anita? And then Anita, I'm going to ask you.
Oh my goodness. That would take me a long time. I just love the way she thinks and strategizes. Even beyond that, I would say her compassion, deep compassion for people.
That's so nice.
Thank you. That's very sweet. So Allie is a visionary, and Allie is about 5 years ahead at any given time. And so she can see in the future and she knows how to get there. Um, she loves people. She's a champion for people, helping people get to the next level. She's a pretty awesome gal.
I can see why you two
Thank
enjoyed
you.
working together for so many years.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'll round it out with one last question. What is a
Mhm.
book that you're currently reading or maybe just finished that you found really impacting?
Ooh, that's so many. I have a stack because I do these apologetic conferences, and I have to read up on each, person that's coming out. So I'm reading Alicia Childers' latest, and Sean McDowell, and Greg Kokel, because they're some of our mainliners for the next one. So I'm going to be reading all three of those. Story.
Mm.
What Greg Kokel just wrote. One of his newer ones is the story of reality. So he talks a lot about uh, the whole realm of relativism and how truth is just under such attack, and reason and logic. We have a knowable faith in the Lord, and so he helps us to navigate this current culture, and how we approach truth. So the story of
Sounds
reality, that's
great.
his new one. Yeah.
Sounds great.
I'm listening to the same book that Allie's listening to by Greg Kokel. We're supposed to get together, talk about it, which I'm excited about. I'm also listening to Up for Air, and it's like an efficiency book for becoming more efficient in your workplace. That's a great book. And I'm listening to a John Maxwell book as well for leadership. So, and about 3 or 4 other fiction things that I just list to when my brain just needs a rest.
So I am like the both of you. I love having a couple books going at the same time and different genres. It's just fun, like some fiction, some nonfiction, some stuff that pushes you real hard mentally and intellectually, some stuff that's more inspirational. It's just fun. And then you have your assortment of books and you can pick what is kind of grabbing your attention that day. It's nice. I'd love for you both to share how you got interested in missions and serving missionaries. How did that begin?
I was at Biola. One of the last classes I was taking was, this was probably uh, I, quite a while ago, many years ago. It was a missions class, and I was very convicted that I needed to be a part of that. So I joined our mission board. And so that's been generally my experience, was as, just a mission board leader. And meanwhile, I was just a real estate agent most of my career. And then this opportunity with World Gospel Mission just came out of nowhere. The Lord had been sort of prompting me, hey, there's some changes coming. It was really weird how I got on their radar, but I just knew it was from the Lord. So I've been able to bring that experience of a mission board and their perspective on missions into that. So as well as real estate, it's kind of weird, but the same process for cultivating relationships with clients. There's no difference really between that and donors, and so or ministry supporters, as we like to call them. But it's really the same process. The why is different, but the process is the same. So
How neat that you've been able to use some of your business skills and past experience, and then with that newer prompting of missions that happened back
yep,
then, weave those two
yep,
together.
yep,
That's really
yep.
neat. How about you, Anita?
Well, you want the funny part? You want the funny side of the
Uh,
story? You want
of
the
course.
stories?
Am I ever going to say no to the funny part? Yes.
So when I was a young Christian, I was the person that when they had missions conference, I skipped church because I felt like missionaries were boring, right? And so how I ended up working for a mission agency is just the funniest thing. So, but when my husband and I are both pastors, and so we took on a church that was a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-everything church, and they were really, really, really big into missions. And they gave the most per capita. They were in the top 6 of our denomination per capita in mission giving. And it was a small church. It was like 50 people. And so I thought, well, I better get on board here. And so as we started having missionaries come into the church, I just fell in love with the whole thing and just got a heart for the whole world. And so I'm kind of like Allie, it came out of left field, my job at World Gospel Mission. But instantly it just felt like I was where I was supposed to be. And so just love it. So from skipping missionary services to coaching missionaries.
God is
So there's a theme
hilarious.
of ditching things we don't like, right, Anita? I ditched
Yeah.
school, you ditched, your Sunday school. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I think I've shared
Absolutely.
it. I think I've shared it in one other episode, but I had 3 nightmares as a child, 3 reoccurring nightmares that I dreaded that would happen to me in life. One was drowning, one was being lost in space, and one was that God would call me to be a missionary. So I really feel at home with the 3 of you right now. I love how God is like, really, let me show you what this is actually all about. So how beautiful that he flipped the script on all of us and brought you both into a place where you're able to support missionaries. You know, we often look in these interviews, we talk sometimes to missionaries, to people who are actually on the field, and then we talk to people who support missionaries. And it takes so many people to support a missionary. We need way more people supporting missions and behind missions than even on the field, because for each person there, you need a whole team. And that's really what we're going to be talking about today. And that's what you guys have done, is working with people to help develop their team. And so you were saying, Allie, that 2 of the biggest challenges that you see come towards missionaries are being underfunded and being overwhelmed.
Right.
Underfunded, overwhelmed, and that's really what you guys address, is that underfunded piece. And really, you could say they link together. I would say being underfunded is
Absolutely.
overwhelming.
And the other way they link together is by some of the false mindsets, and that is always the first place we need to start. So we'll leave the actual support raising for another time, but in the realm we're going to be talking about today, which is teams, that's where we start with the mindset. And of course, most missionaries, as you know, they're fiercely independent, and they come from the West. We're all independent in the West, right? But you bring that into missions, and it's just a recipe for disaster if you're trying to do it by yourself. You feel isolated. You're overworked. There's too many realms that you just can never get to. And most missionaries, by the time they come home, it's like they got to start from scratch almost. There's so much attrition in their support that they've got to start all over again. So it really comes down to their mindset about their supporters. Because here's the truth of it. We're all in this game for the same thing. That's kingdom impact, right? And when we can help people understand, missionaries understand that they have an opportunity to make just as much impact in the lives of their supporters at home as they are on the field, and helping them to understand that it's discipleship at its core, and get them excited about investing in the lives of their supporters and discipling them through creating teams. That's what we're all about.
Well, and Allie, you made a strong statement there that I don't know is something that everybody thinks about. And you said they have the opportunity to make as strong of an impact on their support team as they do on the people they're serving in the field. Say more about that.
Well, think about missionaries, what they have to offer folks like you and I that are at home are a chance to participate in the Great Commission. Every single person is called to participate in the Great Commission. And we need a venue to do that. That's what the missionaries can offer. You take a typical person, they go to church, they believe in the Lord, but it's a once in a Sunday thing. But you light them on fire by being a part of a team that is on the field, boots on the ground, and you're going to change their lives. You're going to light them on fire, and they're going to light other people on fire, because most people stateside have forgotten that we are on mission, and we need those missionaries to bring us into the work of God.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so let's talk more about teams, about how to put together an effective team. As I had mentioned to the both of you, we have all kinds of people who are listening on the podcast. We've got people who are considering going on the field. We've got missionaries who are already on the field, and we've got a lot of people who love missionaries or who are member care providers. But let's speak for a second specifically to those missionaries who are already on the field, who may not have a solid team or who have some people that are maybe more donors, but not necessarily thinking of them in terms of teammates. How can somebody who's already serving on the field create a really strong team back home? And what does that look like? And how does that change things?
Yeah, I think that's important, right? So, and when we say team, we're not just talking about. I know we like to call the people who pray, give, or go, which are usually the asks that we make, right, in the missions world. God might want you to pray, God might want you to give, God might want you to go. But what if God called them to serve and just serve on your team? And so serve as in a ministry position, that's a job they do. And so maybe you have a hard time getting your social media stuff done, but you have someone in the States who's probably spends way too much time on Facebook, right? And so they could spend part of that time there on Facebook helping you. And what if you have someone that's good at graphic design that you already know that's already on your team and you're really struggling to get your newsletter out because you're so focused, you're on the field, you're focused on ministry. It's just really hard to stop and step back and get that newsletter done. But if you could just shoot a couple of pictures and a paragraph or two to someone in the States, they format it, they put it together, they send it back to you to prove, and then it's ready to go out. And if it has to be mailed, you have a team of people or a couple of people in the States that actually take care of that for you as well. They get great satisfaction out of being on your team and serving. And it's so refreshing. What we're finding is that people find it refreshing when the ask is more than just for money. You mean you don't just want my money, or you say you want me to pray? Yeah, I'll pray. And I can't go to the field because my circumstances won't allow me to, but you actually want to use my talents in your ministry. And they find it a refreshing ask. And so, so that's kind of what it would look like. Like, what is it you're not getting done? What is it you hate to do? What is it that you wish you never had to do again in ministry? And staff your weakness, right? Instead of forcing yourself to do something that you're not good at and you know it's a weakness and you're not hitting the mark with it, get someone to help you in that spot. And it's going to bless them and it's going to bless you.
Staff your weakness. I love that statement. I'm thinking of a couple who are friends of ours who were on our support team, have been on our support team. And when we were living in Peru, I'll never forget, they said, we want to do something. We want to be a part of the team. We want to do something and we're not sure what it is. How can we serve you? And we were just brainstorming, and they're both extremely handy. Like, they can build, fix, do anything. And they said, could we come down for a week and fix everything at your house that's not working? We are not handy at all. And we said, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever heard of in my life. It was such a grace. It freed us up to not focus on all those things and to be able to go and do ministry. And of course, we enjoyed time with them while they were there. But that came to mind as you were saying that. I think there are things that people can do for us that we wouldn't ever even think of. So in terms of these roles that people can fill, maybe it's starting with the obvious one. I love that you mentioned, Anita, like newsletter writing. I mean, some people just hate writing, but they could dictate a voice message or they could have a Zoom meeting. I mean, I'm thinking of like someone on your support team who might just love more FaceTime with you, but you're running at a fast pace and you can't sit down and have these monthly Zooms with everybody on your team. But what if there was somebody who was willing to write your newsletter? And for them, they got the reward of getting to sit and be with you for like an hour and hear your stories. And you got the reward of somebody writing your newsletter for you. I mean, what are some of those? Let's even brainstorm together. What are some of the roles that you guys have seen support team members play for missionaries?
Yeah. I have one missionary. I've never seen anybody do it better than this fella. So he, like most missionaries, he's got people strewn all over, right? He's got, where he grew up in Iowa, then where he went to college. He's got supporters there. He's got supporters where he had his first church assignment before he went on the field. And then he has one big supporter that is like in Hawaii. And this one just, it has such interest. He's pulled in other supporters. So what he did is he created 4 positions for 4 hub coordinators. And what they do is they organize, he comes home every other year. And he goes from east to west, and each one of them coordinates with all the churches and individuals in that area, and they line up his whole support raising tour, from
No
coordinating with
way.
it. Oh yeah, they coordinate the churches to have the luncheon. So they reach out to the missions team. They make sure they put together his housing, his the car, and they even have this ongoing map, track where Kip is at, and so they follow, anybody can follow him along, and so they are the point person. Then they pass it off when he's into so he does. I've looked at his itinerary; it's crazy, but they tour with him and they go ahead of him to make sure everything's all taken care of. So the hub coordinators for that, it's amazing what they do. And so he just lands. That's what he does. Gets his family on the plane and they come home, and they have an annual retreat together. And when he's not on the field, they still have that retreat together. So that's
That
an
is
amazing.
brilliant.
It's very high
Because
level.
but it is surprising people who have those kind of skills who not only are willing, but who enjoy doing that type of thing. That is
Well, that
absolutely
is-
amazing. I hate
yeah.
event planning. I mean, maybe there's
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
who can book your plane tickets for you. It's true. Maybe you need to do some
Right.
traveling and you hate booking tickets. And there's somebody who's like, I wanted to be a travel agent when I grew up. Can I do that
Yeah,
for
sure.
you? Yes.
Yeah.
Or coordinating with churches. How cool is that? Wow.
Yeah. So coordinators, and what I would say is the first place you always want to start is with your prayer team, and you might even not be that good at communicating with your prayer team. Why not have a prayer coordinator, that is that point person to shoot out those emails, so that's a place to start. I just recently, a couple weeks ago, I really felt a need for an additional admin for Desert Apologetics. So first thing I did, I reached out to my prayer team. I use Prayervine. There's a lot of different, but I just shot out, hey prayer team, please pray for an admin. A week later, out of the blue, I have my husband's cousin who I hadn't seen in years say, hey, we're going to be in town. So we met for dinner. She was telling her what I do. She says, I'm an admin. How can I help? It's like, that's the prayer team. So, anyway, it's amazing, but we always want to start with our prayer team. Second, we want to look at, like Anita said, what do you hate? What do you not have the capacity for? What you don't know? What is something maybe you like, but you can never get around to it? Those are going to help form your needs, and you start building positions around that.
That's so good. You're making me think. I've talked to a couple of missionaries who really, you could say, dislike or don't feel like they're skilled in social media. It's just something that's really hard for them, and yet they recognize the power in it. And I mean, maybe there's even somebody that on your team who you can just shoot them off pictures, and they're just willing to post it on your
Right.
social media. You can give them, the authority to be able to do that. There's so many ideas, and this is one of those fun things where, hopefully, as people are listening, their brain's going, and they're thinking of all the things that they struggle with, and they're starting. And I hope everybody that you're listening, as you're jotting down different ideas, and don't think anything is too small or too big. Because as you
Right.
said, Allie, I believe there's somebody out there who God is equipping to do for you what you are not able to do. And this isn't about us like being, oh, well, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to slough off all our responsibilities. No, obviously, there's all things that we need to do, but there's a lot to do right there directly in the field that other people can't be a part of. What a beautiful way to invite somebody into that space. And, I'm thinking there's a leadership component to this. So if I am a missionary and I've got a team of people, I need to lead that team. And so talk a little bit about a missionary who maybe feels like they're not very good at leading or managing in that type of context. How could they manage something like that?
Yeah. One of the gals on our team, and she had a team of 12. She was like, I said, the biggest team that we had when we very first started this. And she'll tell you she's not a leader, right? So what she did, her first position was team coordinator. Okay. So she picked someone right beside her who is a leader, and that person coordinates the team. She said they have monthly meetings. The team coordinator sets up the monthly meetings. She just tells her when to show up and she shows up. And so I would say if you're not a leader, find a leader who's willing to come alongside you and help you build a team. And that's not cheating. That's smart, right? So that's the best way to do it if you're not a leader. And you will find that as you're in this role, God's going to grow your leadership. Even if you have a team coordinator, and he'll grow your leadership. And it's good because we're not just looking at our team as ATMs. We're not just wanting their money. Just give me your money, and then I don't really need to communicate with you for the next 4 years till I'm back to raise my support again. People aren't ATMs, right? They want to make a difference, and they want to serve, and they want to know that what they're doing is an investment in the kingdom. And for some, serving is how that's done.
Absolutely. What a great idea to find somebody who can fill that role for you. Now, question for
Sure.
you both. I'm sure there are some missionaries listening and they've got ideas already of people they can ask. And I'm guessing there are some listening who are thinking, I don't know anybody like this. I don't really have a deep relationship with my team. I'm still putting together my team. It feels more of that kind of transactional relationship. How can a missionary who is already on the field continue to build new relationships and strengthen existing ones to get to the point where they could make an ask like this?
Okay. You start with your prayer team. Okay. And if you don't have a prayer team, start a prayer team. Okay. Because this whole thing has to be Holy Spirit driven to the max. And so get your prayer team together. If you don't have one, if you have one, get them together, get them praying. Here's what we need in the ministry. Do you know anyone that would fit any of these skills that we're looking for? And maybe the answer is right in the prayer team's network, right? Or maybe when the next get them looking around, asking people, do you know someone who would have time to work for a missionary, to volunteer and do this and this and this? Who do you know that's the best at video? Who do you know that's the best at social media? Who's good with graphic design? Who's good at writing? Who's good at event planning? And right. And so if you really want to get someone, I have a gal that has horrible call reluctance, and she's been looking for a while. She finally found someone to make those phone calls to get her schedule filled up. And and she said, we were on a call. She said her mental health, just by not having to do that thing that stresses her out so much, and knowing that it was being taken care of, it just it boosted her mental health. She was just so relieved to have someone come alongside her, because raising your support's lonesome. She's a single female, and doing it alone is daunting. And so having a team is so much healthier in a lot of ways.
That's so good. And so, as we're talking about just simple steps that missionaries can take to begin implementing this, it sounds like what you both are really clear on is having a prayer team. And so, for a missionary who has a lot of people on their support team, it's converting some of those. Can you also become prayer partners if they're not that already? And for somebody who maybe just has a couple, sending out a message and just saying, hey, would you be willing to add prayer to your financial support? Is that how you're suggesting they get started?
Yes. Yeah, that's a great way to do it.
And then pulling them together?
That's important. But Allie, what is it that you always say about a team?
If you're not meeting together, you're not a team. You can invite somebody. It's just that communication piece. And again, you might even have somebody who's really coordinating that communication piece. But the synergy and the excitement that you can get together, infuse when they get, even if it's on a Zoom call. If you gather these people that are all over the place and you introduce them and you give them the opportunity to get to know one another, and you get that set up or have your coordination person set that up to where at least once, I would say when you're home on the field doing your support raising, gather them together virtually or literally or hub by hub, once a month. And then when you're on the field quarterly, you should be involved with that unless your coordinator wants to do it more often. But people want to feel like they're part of a tribe, and that doesn't mean you have to be at every single thing, but, whether you're sending pictures or a quick video, I mean, you can have somebody else have that Zoom call or meeting, and they're talking about what you're working on. They're telling you your story and they're showing a picture that, you recently sent them. It doesn't have to be you, but there has to be communication. There has to be gathering, but you got, that tribe needs to feel like, they're on a tribe, they're on a team. So,
well, and so you're talking about relating to them as a community, not just as individuals. And I think
Right.
we're recognizing that on our support team, there will be people like lead pastors who can't necessarily get away and come to something like that because they are traveling and they have a lot of obligation. But there are other people who love it. I mean, we have been doing that ever since we started. We do a yearly gathering where we get people together. And at this last one we were talking to one of the couples and they said, this is one of our favorite nights of the entire year, getting together.
Yeah.
And then a few of the other people said, oh, we haven't seen you since last year. And we found that it has turned into a kind of a reunion of sorts for people. And we think that people are overcommitted and have too much going on. And in some sense, they do. But opportunities to gather like that in a spiritual place, to pray together, to rally together around a cause, it's fun. It's unique. And I mean, we just pull out all the stops. My husband's an unbelievable cook. So he cooks the best food. I'm pretty sure people just come to eat. Let's just be real. They love us, but they want to eat Danny's food.
Yeah.
No, but we cook and we make it just really fun and interactive and look for ways to make it a gathering that everybody enjoys. And I don't think we necessarily understood that in the very beginning. We had a lot of different people, but they weren't connected together. And by inviting people to connect together, not everybody will be able to, not everybody will want to, and that's okay too. But there are a lot of people who would love to. And so this team mentality is so important that you both are bringing up, that we shift from seeing them as individuals to all working together and even being in relationship with one another if that's something that's enriching to their lives. Well, I just cannot thank you both enough for coming on today, just for sharing some of those mindset switches and then also giving really practical ideas that missionaries can put into place. I'd love for people to know how to get a hold of the two of you. Is there a good place for them to find you?
Well, you can always find me. Go to desertapologetics.com. My email is Allie, ALLIE, at desertapologetics.com. I didn't mention this, but we like to get our annual conferences. We do a live stream and we put that in the hands of missionaries for free. So we have people all around the world that watch that. Like I said, well known, and we tackle some tough topics that are, universal. So, including universalism, but anyways, just a little fun. But so Allie at desertapologetics.com, or just go onto the website and you can get a hold of us there. And also, we're going to be putting up information on the new conference that's coming out. So just reach out to me and we'll get you, a free admittance. So virtually.
Wonderful. Thank you, Allie. And Anita,
can
how
get
about
me
you?
Yeah, Anita.Bosworth at WGM.org. Anita.Bosworth, WGM.org.
Wonderful. And you do fundraising coaching for missionaries. Is that right?
Yes, and training. Yeah.
So, Anita, would you explain a little bit what that training looks like?
Sure. So when the missionaries all get together, we give them workshop time, we give them samples of job descriptions, and they have time to make it their own and to get this is the jobs they want to try to fill, and this is what that job would look like. And then we give them some ideas of this is how you make the ask. And so asking someone to join your team could be tricky, right? And so here's the things you look for, here's how you do the ask, and then we get them all into a big group and we practice it 3 times to different people. We call it, it's kind of like speed dating, but we call it speed sharing. And so they give that same spiel to 3 different people and get feedback. And so then by the end of it, they have practiced how to ask someone to join their team 3 times. And they feel much more equipped to actually make that ask because it's a different kind of ask than what you would usually make when you're out there raising your support.
I'll post links to all that information and any resources that the two of you would like to suggest or that you mentioned today as well. But I'm excited. I'm just believing that God's got good things in store for our missionaries in the area of team building and finances. Yeah, and thank you. Excited for them to put some of what they learned today into practice. I know I learned a lot. I've got notes. I'm going to be putting some things into practice. So thank you so much to the two of you.
Thank you. What
You're
an
welcome.
honor to be
Thank
here.
you. Yes.
Yes, wonderful. And for everybody listening, we will see you on our next episode.